Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Miller, and this is part of a series of dialogues with experts, some of whom are clinicians, some of whom are researchers, about important topics for cancer survivors. So I am very honored to be here today with Dr. Julia Rowland, who is the director of the Office of Cancer Survivorship from the National Cancer Institute. Welcome.
It's lovely to be here, Ken. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. What is the Office of Cancer Survivorship?
So your Office of Cancer Survivorship was actually created at the National Cancer Institute in 1996, and it was established in direct response to compelling and articulate advocacy from the survivor community. Individuals who said, it's wonderful that we have all of these medical advances in early detection and better treatments and people are living longer, but we need to know to what are people being returned. What is their life like after the active treatment ends? And that is really what the office is designed to do, to support and direct the research that will provide answers to that question.
So along those lines, what is the research? What are the various, sort of broad categories of things that your office oversees in research?
Well, in particular, we're overseeing research, so obviously our target audience would be from young individuals diagnosed right up to our geriatric community, so we're interested in the full age spectrum of individuals who have this history. The areas of research include sort of descriptive analytic studies, so what are the incidents of different kinds of chronic or late effects. Some of them are intervention studies. What are the interventions that we could use, whether these are medical or behavioral or social interventions that will improve outcomes or reduce someone's risk of developing the disease. There are some epidemiologic studies where we're trying to look at a bigger picture of what's different about having cancer versus having no history of cancer. And then we also look at some training grants and educational experiences or teaching opportunities for researchers and clinicians to learn how to do this work.
Well, one of the big questions that people ask who are cancer survivors is, what can I do to reduce my risk of the cancer coming back? So along those lines, what are researchers looking at throughout the country?
That's the $64,000 question, obviously. Individuals want to know, how did I get this cancer and what can I do to change that outcome? And for some cancers, there may be some behavioral evidence. So if you are a smoker or a drinker and you have a cancer associated with that, some of the advice might be you need to change those lifestyle behaviors. But in many cases, as you know, Ken, we don't know why someone developed this, or there are risk factors that are really beyond our control, genetic risk factors like the BRCA1 and 2 gene. We may not be able to alter their genetic capacity, but we may intervene with prophylactic interventions, so prophylactic mastectomy or chemoprevention to keep these coming back. So the answer is actually very diverse for many individuals, depending on how much we know about the etiology of the cancer and known modifiable risk factors that are in our control.
Say a couple words, if you would, about exercise and nutrition, because I know that that's a big topic of interest for you and for your office, too.
Absolutely. This is really a growing area, this whole lifestyle area. And I have to say this is, in many ways, when we think about this, is kind of a high-end issue for us, because in the past we were just concerned that survivors were going to make it through treatment and that they were doing okay after treatment. The idea that we could actually intervene and make their lives better in some way, improve their cardiovascular health, their bone health, their emotional functioning beyond their cancer experience is fairly novel. And yet survivors are telling us they're very engaged in this because this is something they can be doing actively, that they see this as an opportunity to making change that might be beneficial to them. And, cancer is a disease that so takes away a person's sense of control that this is a very important way to intervene, and wonderful because it's so accessible to so many people, lifestyle change.
I've heard you say that cancer is a teachable moment. So what does that mean?
It's absolutely a teachable moment. Not for everybody, but many individuals come in and they're willing to make changes they weren't before. They're willing to adapt their life, do things that they didn't think they could do before in the context of having this illness, and with the hope that it's going to lead to improved outcomes.
The other thing I want to ask about, too, obviously going through a cancer experience can be very, very difficult. And people probably report a number of problems they have, but how about the silver lining that you've talked about before?
It is interesting, as we listen more to survivors talk about their experience, there are two things we've learned. One is that individuals are so resilient. Just that human drive to compensate, to deal with adversity, to find ways around this is very humbling as a clinician. I'm sure you felt the same way. deep admiration for people who go through arduous treatments and people feeling proud that they were able to do that. And I think that there is that silver lining, that benefit, if you like, to these traumatic events where you say, you know, I live life more fully. I don't take things for granted. I'm grateful for my family and my friends who were really there for me. Sometimes it takes survivors by surprise, and others take great joy in that. Some will describe their cancer, and Lance Armstrong included, as a gift. It was life-altering.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit about advocacy. I mean, you've been a wonderful advocate for a long time and continue to do so. What can people do, cancer survivors do?
Well, gee, that's a really important question. And, of course, the Office of Cancer Survivorship at NCI would not exist without advocacy. So this is a pure testament to what that voice will do. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to think of advocacy on many levels. So you can think of advocacy as personal advocacy, ensuring that you're getting the best care. So if you're going to have good outcomes, you need to be your own advocate. But also becoming engaged in the larger social issues. What do we need to be doing to change this? And I think it's really been advocates' voices that have demanded that we change the way we think about survivors, how we define and refer to them as individuals who have this history, how we address their problems, and the need to be more attentive to their needs.